Good morning, Douglas Elementary. I hope you are all enjoying your long break off from school. I know we've been enjoying some quality family time here. For my second graders and my fourth graders, I miss you guys, and I hope you are continuing to practice reading and math at home. I look forward to seeing all of you when we get back. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mrs. Plamondon, and today we are going to read a story that is a favorite in our house. This is Otis and the Scarecrow by Lauren Long. Otis was a book that my son loved when he was younger, and I loved reading it to him, so I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we did. Okay, so Otis and the Scarecrow. Start off the title page. It was summer when the Scarecrow first came to the farm where the friendly little tractor named Otis lived. Back when the corn was tall and ripe. Move that a little closer so you guys can see the pictures. Otis recalled how the crows had scattered at first. They wanted nothing to do with the Scarecrow, which made the farmer very happy. Otis was also happy. A new friend had come to live on the farm. But when Otis went to welcome him, the Scarecrow didn't smile or say hello. He just stood there, a sour look on his face, staring at the cornfield. After a while, Otis left him alone. So, if you haven't figured it out already, Otis is the tractor. Okay? And off in the distance way back there, you can see his new friend, the Scarecrow. Okay? This is my son Jacob. He's joining us for reading time today. Okay? I'm doing a video for all the kids at school.
Oh, from the second grade?
For everyone. Okay. When the farm animals came by to greet the Scarecrow, once again he didn't smile or say hello. He just stood there, that sour look on his face, staring at the cornfield. The animals didn't know what to think. Who was this new creature? The horse curled his lip at the Scarecrow's musty smell. The ducks pointed at his tattered clothes. The little calf and the puppy were frightened by him. Finally, the bull snarled, huffed, and turned away. And the Scarecrow stood there alone. Okay, so there's the animals. They don't look like they're very excited to see their new friend, do they? And there's Mr. Scarecrow, looking all sour and musty and scrappy. Summer passed, and by the crows came back around. They perched, picked, and pecked at the Scarecrow. Otis noticed that the Scarecrow didn't shoo them away. He just stood there with that sour look on his face, staring off at the cornfield. Otis puffed a soft sigh and turned to catch up with his friends. Scarecrow does look very grumpy, doesn't he? But I don't think he's doing a good job of keeping away the crows. Autumn eventually arrived. The days grew shorter and cooler. Harvest time had left the fields bare except for the plump pumpkins dotting the fields orange. Otis began pulling wagons filled with children eager to pick out a pumpkin to carve into a jack-o'-lantern. The farm looked different, but Otis loved the changing seasons, and he worked and played as hard as ever. Put, puff, puttity, chuff. It was a splendid time on the farm for being together with family and friends. There's Otis pulling all the children around in the pumpkin patch. I wonder how many of you have been pulled around in a tractor. Maybe picking out pumpkins or just doing a hayride. The cool air drifting through the hills made the animals more rambunctious than ever. A simple game of follow the leader turned into a reckless race over the rolling hills. A game of hide and seek turned into a rowdy rendition of Ring Around the Rosie, the animals playfully circling Otis as he sat, counting 1 putt, 2 puff, 3 puttity, 4 chuff. When Otis tuckered out from all the games, he headed up to the hill to the apple tree. His frisky friends would join him, and when they were all sitting together, Otis would challenge everyone to a different game. The quiet game. The quiet game is a contest in which everyone must stay quiet and still. No sounds, no laughing, no snorting, quacking, giggling, or puffing. The player who stays quiet the longest wins. Otis knew the animals loved playing any game, even one that challenged them to sit still. To start the game, he would surge his engine to get everyone's attention, take in a deep breath of air, and let out a long, soft putt, puff, puttity. I think you guys should practice playing the quiet game home with Mom and Dad. Maybe see who can stay the quietest the longest. Challenge your siblings to it if you have brothers or sisters. I might try that with my own kids. Otis would sit quietly and look over the farm. There was Mud Pond, filled with the autumn rains. There were the plump pumpkins dotting the fields orange. There were the shocks of corn fodder all in a row. And there, still, was the Scarecrow, all alone, staring sternly at the empty cornfield. Do you think maybe Otis is starting to feel a little bad for the Scarecrow? The Scarecrow seems a little left out, doesn't he? The puppy was always the first to lose the quiet game. Puppies always are. He just couldn't sit still. The bull would twitch his nose, which made the little calf giggle. This made the bull chuckle with a snort. The bull's snort would amuse the ducks, and their bottoms would wiggle as they held back their giggles. The sight of the ducks' wiggling bottoms would amuse the horse so much that he would roll on the ground, neighing with laughter. At this the ducks would quack out loud, and soon everyone would be laughing, snorting, quacking, and giggling. This always left Otis the winner, a big grin on his face as he sat under the apple tree with his friends. I think it looks like they're having a good time up there. One day, a cold rain set in. Looks like this morning, doesn't it? With all that rain. Otis and the animals ran for cover under the apple tree. They huddled together for warmth as Otis looked over the farm. There was the overflowing mud pond. There were the shiny wet pumpkins and the soaked corn shocks all in a row. And there, swaying back and forth in the cold wind and rain, was the Scarecrow. Otis couldn't take his eyes off of him. He thought about how the Scarecrow must feel. So there's the poor Scarecrow all alone out in the field with the rain pouring down on him. You have to feel a little bit bad for him. Otis stood up. I wonder what Otis is going to do. There's the rest of the animals watching. He marched down the hill, putt, puff, puttity, chuff, and crossed into the empty cornfield. Without hesitation, Otis chuffed and puffed straight up to the Scarecrow. Otis looked up into the painted eyes of the Scarecrow and smiled. The Scarecrow didn't smile back. He just stared off at the empty cornfield, as always. The two of them stood quietly in that great big field as the wind and rain battered them. Then Otis turned his body around and backed right up alongside the Scarecrow, and with a chuff, he sat down next to him. So there's Otis next to the Scarecrow. He's being a good friend, I think. Even though the Scarecrow hasn't been very friendly, he still wants the Scarecrow to know that he's not alone. Go. Suddenly, the little calf and the puppy scampered down the hillside, crossed into the cornfield, and curled up right next to Otis. Gradually, the cow and horse ambled down the hillside. Before long, the ducks waddled their way down too. So there they go through the rain to join Otis and the Scarecrow in the middle of the field. And finally, the big bull sauntered down into the field, joining the others. Otis surged his engine to get everyone's attention, took in a deep breath of air, and let out a long, soft put, puff, puttity. Otis and the animals sat quietly. I wonder if maybe the Scarecrow doesn't feel so alone now. Until the puppy couldn't sit still another minute. The bull snorted onto the calf's ears. The ducks wiggled their bottoms, and soon everyone was giggling, quacking, laughing, and even puffing. Everyone except the Scarecrow, of course, who never uttered a sound. Yet, as Otis watched, he couldn't be sure, but he thought he might have seen the Scarecrow smile. Either way, Otis thought, the Scarecrow didn't look so lonely anymore, surrounded by friends. The end. And there's Otis and all the animals with their Scarecrow. So I hope you enjoyed that story today. If you did, check out your local library once it opens up again. There are a lot more stories about Otis and his farm friends and all the adventures that they get up to. In the meantime, I hope you guys stay safe. I hope you stay healthy. I hope you enjoy this time at home with your families. Don't stop reading, and we will see you again soon.